We live in a world today in which it is amazing how many people are self-called preachers, self-called pastors, but they're really not. They're just in it for the money. Now, that said, the majority of the pastors I meet are really good men and really good women of God who sacrifice every day of their lives for the privilege of serving God and serving his people. But sometimes God's people don't recognize the difference. Now, Jesus teaches us how to recognize the difference between a hireling and a shepherd. John 10, beginning with verse 11. Jesus said, I am the good shepherd. The good shepherd sacrifices his life for the sheep. Okay? A good shepherd always lays down their life for the sheep, always puts what's good for the people first. A hired hand will run when he sees a wolf coming. Now notice, a hired hand will run. A hireling will run. They don't wait for the attack of the wolf. As soon as they see the problem coming, they run. See, a hireling never wants to face problems. A hireling never wants to clean up a mess. A hireling never wants to face danger. So they run before the attack even begins. He will. So notice a hireling will run. Secondly, he will, not he might. A hireling will abandon the sheep. They walk out on the sheep. They just walk out. A hireling will abandon the sheep. Why? Because the sheep don't belong to them. They feel no sense of ownership of that flock because they're really not that flock's shepherd. Now, there are many congregations around the world right now. And I don't say this with any joy, please. I say this painfully because I deal with many of the leaders of these congregations around the world. There are many congregations around the world right now that have found out that they don't have a shepherd. They had a hireling. And now that hireling has moved on. In the middle of COVID, that hireling abandoned the flock. In the middle of COVID, that hireling just walked out on the people and thought, you know what, I'm going to go do something else. And then what happens? Then comes the spiritual attacks on the people. Now that Jesus says in verse 13, the hireling runs away. Here's the bottom line reason. Because he's only working for the money and really doesn't care about the sheep. Now notice the difference between a hireling and a shepherd. A hireling is only working for the money. A shepherd cares for the sheep. Sometimes I sit our young pastors and pastors down and I tell them, you know, my friends, none of us are perfect and we're all going to make a lot of mistakes. And the people are very patient to allow us to grow and to allow us to learn. But I said, the one thing that you can never have questioned is your heart of care. Paul said, you know what? God put into the heart of Titus the same care that I have for you. Only God can do that. I teach the young pastors, I can teach you to do all the work of the ministry. That's not hard. But I can never teach you to care. That is something only God can put in the heart of somebody. See, this is the difference between a shepherd and a hireling. A shepherd has come before God, and God has put a care in their heart for the people. A hireling, they're just here for money. Beloved, when you look at all of us pastors today, you know, if you're going to live with us long, you're going to find out we're not perfect people. We try to live right, but we're not perfect people. We make no claims of perfection. But follow pastors that care, not pastors that are just slick and in it for the money.